So here we are today with Catherine Jinks. She's the author of more than 30 books, and her new book, A Very Unusual Pursuit, is book one of her new trilogy, City of Orphans. Thanks for being here today, Catherine.
Thank you for having me.
So what gave you the idea for writing A Very Unusual Pursuit?
Well, it started off because I was thinking about young kids' books, the sort of 9 to 12-year-old period of one's life. And I was thinking how hard it is now for writers to write about kids in the modern world, because once upon a time, well, even back in the 60s, 70s or whatever, kids could, they'd be given a packed lunch and told to go away and for the day, and then they'd go away off and they'd have their adventures, and there'd be no mobile phones and mothers saying, "Where are you?" Like this. Or these days, because kids are very precious, they're always at school, they're always being supervised, blah, 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 which is great. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it means it's very hard for fiction writers. And I was thinking, well, when was the top time for kids being in the absolute centre of the action? And I was thinking probably in the time of like Oliver Twist and that sort of thing, when the Victorians were so dependent on children of this age for economic reasons. And then I was thinking, like chimney sweeps, for example, and then I thought they were door to door, and what else was door to door? I thought knife grinders and hair menders, and I suddenly thought, you can have a monster person going from door to door. And just went like that. So that was how I started, and I thought that would be the best time to be writing about if you wanted the children to be in the absolute centre of the action.
But it's also kind of a dark time, isn't it?
So, hell yes. I mean, it's miserable. I mean, to be at the centre of the action, you actually have to be, doing something absolutely appalling, like climbing up chimneys. I mean, there's pros and cons and all of that, But yes, and so I thought that would be a good time to be. The books are about monsters, but they're also about children and work, and technology, and because it's a time when, sort of like now, when technology was having a huge surge in importance, and it was changing everything. And he was like the bogler, Alfred, who's the main. Apart from he's the person who kills the bogles, but Birdie, the little girl, is the person who lures the bogles out to be killed. And Alfred's probably the last of a breed. It's things are beginning to change over into very. And I think a lot of the bogles are being frightened out by all the building and the excavating that was going on in London at that time. So, yeah, it's a combination of things.
Do you sometimes think it's a challenge? A lot of your books are historical. Do you think it's a challenge for children to read historical novels?
Yeah, I think writing. Okay, in terms of challenge of writing them, the challenge of writing them is to think about your audience and how much they're actually going to know. And to be honest, one of the reasons I like the idea of writing about this period was because of Sherlock Holmes, sort of various other things, a lot of the steampunk stuff. People are a bit familiar, even in the absolute broad sort of social situation. People are familiar vaguely with Victorian London. It just seems to be a period whereas if you were talking about 14th century France, that's even more difficult, I mean, so writing it, there's a challenge to write for anybody about anything that they're not familiar with. So if you're writing science fiction, you're trying to describe things that they have no idea what you're talking about. The same with history, but the challenge also is to think about how much with science fiction, they're not going to know anything. So you just have to describe everything. With history, you have to try and think exactly how much they're likely to know and how much you're going to have to describe. So it is a bit of a challenge, and sort of as the younger you get, the more of a challenge it is, So that's why I put a glossary in the back.
Yes, which was very well looked at with my book club, because my book club actually read this book, my 10 to 12-year-old book club, and we got talking a lot about the Celtic lore and bogles and ghosts and monsters. So does it make you happy to know that the kids get so involved in the history of, what you're writing about?
Look, because I'm such a history fanatic. I did history at university, and when somebody else is really interested in history, it's so nice. I mean, it's just, it's kind of like a geek-to-geek thing, where if you come across somebody who's a real fan of something, like, we were just discussing earlier Walking Dead, and you can just talk about it for hours. If you come across somebody who's a real history fan, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's this kind of, if you come across another sort of Jane Austen history type, like Regency period fan, you can get right into that. And it's just so nice to breed more of them. So if I'm encouraging the interest in history, I mean, frankly, I think if people were more interested in history, we'd be a lot better off. We wouldn't repeat our mistakes so much.
So I get the feeling you had a lot of fun researching this book.
Oh, fantastic fun. Fantastic fun. It's so interesting. And now I'm desperate to get to London. Because now I know, like I swear I could be doing a guided walk. Oh. Especially around, the second book is all set around Newgate Prison, which isn't there anymore, but all these other places are. And all of them have got these fabulous little underground places. Oh, it's just so great I just had a best time. And most of it on the internet. This is the weird thing. Because of Sherlock Holmes, probably Jack the Ripper and steampunk and trains, I think, everything you want to know about Victorian London is up there. It's unbelievable.
Everything's on the internet.
Well, just for the Victorian. I'm not saying if I was trying to do medieval history, you can't find it on the internet yet, if you ever will. But just because there's a large number of people really interested in it, and they're madly kind of obsessively posting everything, which is amazing. Scanning and posting. It's there, you know. Yeah. I did have to apply to a few books, but not as many as I ever would have thought before.
So it's a great set of characters in this book as well. Alfred, who's our burglar or go devil man, and Bertie, the intrepid heroine. She's such a gorgeous character, and Miss Eames, who is wonderfully proper. So do you ever get to the point where you're so overly fond of a character that you just don't want to stop writing about them?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's, in fact, when I started off writing the Pagan series, now that was only meant to be one book, and I could not let him go. They just kept on living in my head, and that was why I wrote like 4 of him and then another one about his daughter. But this one was sort of the same. When I wrote this, it was only going to be one. But then I must say, when I'd finished it, I did feel quite melancholy, and I thought, gee, I could spend more time there. There's much more to do, but we'll see. And then I gave it in, and everybody adored it. I thought, oh, I can do another couple of that. They'll buy this. Everybody loved it so much, and then I can spend a bit more time. So it was great, actually, because there's 3 books in the series, and I've just probably finished the next one, the third one next week, I'd say. Oh. Just about done. And I'm now thinking, yeah, I'm pretty much, yep, had enough now. So it's like, you know, I didn't need to spend some more time, but I've launched them off into their adult lives now, so that's fine. Yeah.
So do we know when the second book's actually going to come out?
July.
Oh, yeah. Not that far away.
Yeah.
So.
And then the third one's, since I'm finished it nice and early, I think it'll be out next January, so it'll be like 6 months.
Excellent. You've written many books that take the reader into quite creepy places. Like a lot of your books sort of go there, don't they? What is it about that kind of story that appeals to you?
Are you creepy? I suppose.
You know, we've got vampires and werewolves, and we've got, even the Paradise Trap.
Those vampires, they weren't creepy. They were pathetic, sad, miserable losers. They weren't creepy.
But even the Paradise Trap was slightly
that was
a little
creepy.
bit, yeah.
I thought that was creepy than a lot of stuff, actually, myself.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I suppose I'm a walking dead fan. What can I say? I just like a little bit of that creepiness in a life. I don't like too much gore, but I like creepy. And it's, it's a good way of adding, I suppose, suspense.
Yes.
Yeah. I do like a creepy atmosphere. You know what I like? I like mystery. Actually, I was thinking about that the other day when I was looking at houses, and what I love is a house. I love to go past a house, and there's a few of them near where I live, all overgrown. They're old, they're overgrown, and every time you go past them, you think, who's in there?
Yeah.
Why is it like that? What are they doing? Whereas if you go past a nice spruce house, you just think, no, whatever. It's all there. Obviously a nice family, loves to mow their lawn, not very interesting, all the overgrown. So mystery house, I like mystery. So a little bit of mystery, I think that's what I like. So creepy can be mystery, do you know what I mean? It's not pinned down horror, it's just creepy, mystery. That's what I like.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Catherine, and we wish you all the best with the rest of the series and look forward to getting the next book in July. Thank you once again.
Thank you.